Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, taking care of yourself, all that good stuff. And if you're new here, I'm Jim. It's great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. I make tutorial videos here every week showing you how I edit my photos using various software products. Today, I'm in Luminar 4, and in Luminar 4 you have a lot of tools and a lot of fun, and I make videos about it all the time because I like it so much. But sometimes you just kind of want to zip through a photo because you got really good product to start with. And I'm not talking about Luminar, which I think is a good product, but I'm talking about your base photo. Sometimes it's got a lot in it and you don't really need to do too much. You just need to kind of get a quick fix, for lack of a better word. So this is a sunset shot, and this is a quick fix, kind of a quick tip about how I quickly edit a beautiful sunset to just get that extra little bit of punch and bring it to life. Let me show you the photo. There it is. Now this was shot in southern England a few years ago when I was there, and as you can see, it's the kind of sunset we always want to shoot. I just noticed the horizon's crooked. I'll fix that later, but the point is there's some beautiful light. I've got a beautiful scene to work with. I just need to make a few things to really make the photo pop. So I'm going to start by doing a little bit of smart contrast. I am going to pull the highlights down a little bit, something about like that, and I'm going to pull the shadows up, probably maybe a little bit of a comparable amount. I'm going to give AI enhance, or excuse me, AI accent, also kind of a comparable amount. And then I'm onto AI structure, and I'm moving kind of fast, but I'm doing really simple things. And what I'm trying to do is, if you look at the base photo and the current photo, I'm kind of balancing out the light. So contrast, highlights, shadows, AI accent, they operate a lot around the idea of helping me balance the light. I'm moving now to AI structure, and in this case, what I normally do with my clouds that you see me do all the time is drag the amount to the left to soften it up and then paint it in. I'm not going to do that. These kind of clouds, to me, they just kind of, there's so much texture in them, they kind of scream for getting a little bit of the AI structure added to them instead of removed from them. And so I'm actually going to drag the AI structure globally across the entire photo, and knowing that it's going to impact the sky quite a bit. So let me show you the before. There it is before and after. It just gives a little bit of extra kick to the sky, and the way the clouds are moving kind of over me as I'm shooting this, I don't know, it just, something about it just looks really cool to me. So when I have textured clouds like that, I'm often torn between, do I soften them or do I give them a little bit of kick? In this case, I just went with the kick. Next I want to go on to color. So there's not a whole lot needed here, maybe a tiny bit of saturation and vibrance, just a little bit, but I want to be careful with the blue because it's getting really dominant. So I'm going to click on the blue. Here in advanced settings, I'm going to take the saturation of the blue down to, maybe like a -20. There's a lot of blue in the scene. I want to keep the blue. I just want to control it, and I don't want it to dominate because it is a sunset. There is some lovely warm color on the horizon and kind of beaming up across the clouds, and I want to make sure that I'm bringing that to life and not hiding it behind too much blue. So the best way to bring up that color, in my opinion, is to go to Landscape Enhancer, get Golden Hour, and just start dragging that thing to the right. I'm going to go about a 25 or so here, and let me show you the before and the after. It casts a nice warm glow across the sky. I'm going to do a little bit more later to enhance that, but I wanted to give that Golden Hour just a little kick because I think it just works wonders. And it also, as you can see, it impacts the sand, which has a lot of gold tones in it, so it gets a little bit warmer, and I think that adds to the photo. Okay, moving on, I'm hopping over to the Pro tab, and I'm getting adjustable gradient. And one of the first things I notice when I look at this photo is it basically slants like that, slants up from that left bottom corner to that upper middle of the right? The roofs of the buildings down to the seashore. So what I'm going to do is go get this little guy, and I'm going to twist it and kind of follow that so I can separate the top from the bottom quite easily, which is what adjustable gradient is great at. And it just takes a minute or so to kind of get it right. It doesn't have to be exact, my friends. And this gradient zone, the more you open that up or expand it, the softer the transition is. So I'm going to do something about like that. I think that's fine. We're all friends here, so I'm just kind of playing around. But I wanted to show you how I use this tool. So the first thing I want to do is work on the top. I do want to add some contrast because I like the moodiness in the sky, so I'm kind of bringing that up a little bit. But I want to bring the highlights down. So I'm going to do like a -30 or something in the highlights because they're still kind of bright over there. Even though I did fire brackets, this is a single exposure from that bracket set. But I'm going to take warmth and I'm going to go this way to give it a little bit more boost and give it a little bit of vibrance as well, because that sky, let's face it, that's a gorgeous sky. I was super happy to see that, and I wanted to kind of bring that to life in the image. So there it is. this is again just the top of the photo because we're an adjustable gradient and I've only done the top, but there's the top beforehand, and there it is now, a little bit darker, a little bit moodier. If you don't like the darkness, you could either bring up the exposure a little bit like that or pull back on the contrast. I actually might do a little bit of both here just to balance that out. So let me look one more time. There it is before and after. I think that's a little bit more subtle. In fact, I kind of like my editing. I'm going to go back a little bit on contrast and pull back a tiny bit on the exposure. But regardless, you can play with these things all day and figure out how it works. I'm just trying to get it just right. Now I want to move on to the bottom of the image. Now the first thing I notice is that the bottom needs a bit of contrast. So I'm going to give that like a 24, 25. And I think that helps, but it's still too bright. So I'm going to pull the exposure down. Now, this is where it's just going to come into personal taste. Really, truthfully, everything you do in editing is personal taste. But what I'm talking about is the exposure level. Like the human eye has a huge dynamic range, right? So you're going to see more clearly than the camera is ever going to capture, right? So you're going to be able to see down that boardwalk there, not boardwalk, but that pathway and the sand, and you're going to see all that quite well with the human eye. But the photo is not going to capture it. So when you're editing, just think about what are you trying to represent? Is it artistic or is it realistic? Because if it's realistic, you actually might want to go a little bit brighter, but I think that doesn't look as good in photos. I actually think it looks a little bit better darker because I think people expect that that's what it's supposed to look like in a photograph, possibly different than actually how it may look in real life. Every situation is different. The light's always different, all that. So I'm just kind of talking about how I think about things here, but exposure down, contrast up. And what I want to do is I'm going to give a little bit of vibrance to the sand. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to start bumping it up a lot and getting a whole lot of intensity in the color. But I'm going to do that, and I actually might pull the temperature down just a hair. And let me show you what I've done to the photo with adjustable gradient. There it is before, and there it is after, right? So a little bit of contrast in the sky and a little bit of darkness on the bottom with a few other minor edits, but the before and the after, I think you have so much control over an image with adjustable gradient, which is why it is literally one of my favorite tools in Luminar 4. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's in Luminar AI. I don't know yet, but I hope to know pretty soon. So that's what I've got with that. And the last thing left is really just going to split toning. And here, all I want to do is basically take the hue to like 3 or 4, something like that. Stay kind of in the reds. And by the way, I'm in highlights, and if you don't know split toning, if you're new here and haven't seen me use it, because I use it all the time, it's a great way to impact photos like this where you have some highlights and some shadows, and it allows you to pick a color and a saturation level for that color in either the highlights or the shadows. For this photo, I'm only working in the highlights. I pick my hue and I pick my saturation. So I picked a hue of 3. Saturation, I'm going to like maybe 25 or something. And you can see how that sky is really just coming to life and lighting up. So I think that, with a little bit of what I did in adjustable gradient plus golden hour, has really popped those warmer tones in the sky and brought it to life. So if I turn this off, the split toning, if you look, especially in the warmer parts of the sky, because that's really all I've done. There it is before and after. It's got a little bit more of a pink tone to it, and it's a little bit brighter and just overall warmer, and it almost kind of glows. I love it. So there it is one more time, before and after. And that's really it. Everything is seasoned to taste. I do want to point out one thing. Let me show you, if I come back here and turn off AI Enhance, what the photo looks like. It looks a lot flatter. So AI Enhance can really amp up a photo. There it is after. But the thing to be careful with about that is you might use AI Accent. I say AI Enhance. I'm really talking about AI Accent. It has a lot of things in it. It does a lot of contrast work and colors. So a lot of times, I see people that just use AI Accent a whole lot. And there's nothing wrong with it. You do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, if you're going to do a lot of other edits, be careful, because if you do a heavy use of AI Accent, it's going to throw off how the other ones are going to impact your photo, because it's having such an impact in lots of different areas. Color, contrast, saturation, vibrance. It's doing a lot of those things. So just be careful. One more time. There it is before and after. It does a great job lightening the darker areas, but it adds a pop in other areas as well. So just be aware of that is all I'm saying. And I try to use AI Accent kind of judiciously. It's hard to say, but I try not to do too much of it. I just want to do some, because I know I'm always going to be doing other edits. But anyway, that is a sunset quick fix. There it is, the first not the first edition, the whatever it is. It's getting late. I'm tired. That is the before, and that's the after. And really, just a few filters, just a few minutes. If I wasn't talking, you'd have this done in under 5 minutes. But there you go, before and after. Really a massive difference. I think the photos come to life. I think it looks stunning. I just need to go straight in the horizon, which I can do easily in the crop tool, and I'm going to do on my own time. You probably already know how to do that. So thank you, my friends, for watching, tuning in, coming back, hanging out, interacting with me. I love all the comments. I love the community here. Thanks for your support. It means a lot. I appreciate it. And I'll see you really soon. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Have a great day, my friends. Take care and adios.